This is Living Power with Dan Hurst.
In the middle of the way. The first question is it okay to be single? And the answer is, yeah, it's okay. It's okay, of course. If that's what God wants for your life, it's okay to be single. In fact, if that's what God wants and you get married, that will be two more miserable people in the world. Some people are called to be single. Now, you may not be that person. You say, I don't want to be called. I want to be married. Okay, that's okay. But some people are called to be single, and some people are called to be single for a while and then get married. You may be that person. When I grew up on the mission field, we had a single missionary nurse practitioner named Frances Crawford. We called her Aunt Frances. All missionaries are aunts and uncles. That's kind of the way we grew up. Every missionary in Honduras was either an aunt or an uncle. And Aunt Frances was a missionary nurse who came to Honduras and lived out in a town called El Porvenir. Now, it's not the same Porvenir that we go to on our mission trips, but this Porvenir was in the central part of Honduras, very, very remote. And how Dad found this spot and it had to be a God thing, but what caused Dad to say, this is where we need to put a medical clinic in Porvenir, I don't know. But she lived in Porvenir by herself, out in the central area of Honduras. And I remember, and that's where, as a boy, as a very young teenager, sometimes we would go out to Porvenir and stay for a week or so. Sometimes Mom and Dad would go. Sometimes one of the kids would go, and we'd go and stay with Aunt Frances, and we'd help her. And that's where I learned my love for taking care of people. It just was something that I wanted. I just wanted to do that. And I decided, I didn't want to be a doctor, but I just wanted to be involved in making people's lives better, because I saw that in Aunt Frances's life. And I can't tell you how life-changing that was to go and spend that time with Aunt Frances in El Porvenir, in this village that had no electricity, and we would take, and she saw on an average 5,500 patients every year. 5,500 patients by herself every year in this little clinic. She would deliver on the average 70 babies every year. I was 12 years old when I delivered my first baby. And and that happened out there, and Aunt Frances taught me, about this miracle of life, and it was just such an incredible experience. And I can remember staying in El Porvenir and being there with Aunt Frances and being up at 10 o'clock at night, suturing up a guy who'd been in a machete fight by a kerosene lamp. That's all we had to see. And going through that and delivering babies and at one time I was talking to Aunt Frances and I said, Frances, how do you do this? You're not married. Did you ever want to get married? She said, oh yeah, I wanted to get married. And I had a guy that I wanted to marry, but it just didn't work out. It wasn't the right thing to do. And I said, well, how can you handle this now with this kind of work that you do day in and day out? And she had the most amazing statement. She said, you have to look beyond yourself. She said, what I do here is not about me. It's about God. She said, I'm single because it's not about me, it's about God. It's what God wants to do. And if someday He wants to put a husband in my life, then that'll be fine. But right now, this is not what He wants to do. And I said, well, do you want to get married someday? And she said, not really. But she said, you know what? I really want to be a mom. I said, you want to be a mom? She said, yeah. Well, one day she was actually back in the city where we were, and she was talking, and I mentioned at the dinner table, hey, guess what, Mom and Dad? Aunt Frances wants to be a mom. Well, that started an interesting conversation. And my dad said, well, why don't you adopt? And she said, oh, you can't do that. And back in those days, a single woman adopting a child was just like, wow, you can't do that. And certainly if you were on the mission field as a missionary, you couldn't do that. And my dad was never one for rules and regulations. And he said, sure you can. We'll take care of it. If you want to adopt, we'll take care of it. Sure enough, she adopted a little Honduran boy, this baby boy, and she named him Daniel. And now she lives in Texas. She's retired, and she's up in years, and Daniel never got married. Daniel's a painter. He paints houses for a living, but he's also a very gifted artist. And he paints and sells some of his paintings. And Daniel will tell you that I'm it's not my job to get married. He said, I really believe that God put me here to take care of my mom, until she goes to be with the Lord. He says, so one single taking care of another single was just an amazing story. But so Aunt Frances finally became a mom, which I think is so amazing. But she was single. And it was okay for her to be single, and she was comfortable with that.
Looking for a Bible study that's focused on the practical application of the Bible? Check out our website at theopenclass.com.